This is what a strong set of hips, hamstrings, flexible hips, and flexible hamstrings looks like. The athlete can get down below his hips below his knees, keep a lordotic curve in his lower back, keep his heels on the ground, and keep his chest up and his hands back over his feet. I want everybody to stand up and try this, because you're going to be shocked that you can't move as well as you think you can. So the people that want to try it, go ahead. I'm not going to make everybody, but go ahead and stand up and try it. Especially if you're a head coach, make your younger coaches stand up and try. Lock your elbows above your head like you're holding a bar. Now don't get your hands super wide, keep them above your shoulders. I noticed that some people are taking their hands wide or bending their elbows. Now the reason why some of you guys are widening your hands is so your thoracic region can be the mobility joint and allow no flexibility to happen in the hamstrings. You're actually curling from the upper back. That's the reason why you see coaches do this, or you take it extra wide. If you actually lock like this, your range of motion would be cut in half. When we do this with our athletes that come in to our sports performance place, 90% of our young males fail this test. They cannot move correctly. Then we ask, the next question is, which gaming console do you have? Xbox, what do you have? And every single one of them has one of them. This is what a stable shoulder joint, stable hip joint, and a strong, stable core will look like. Looks really simple. This is a kid I trained all through his high school. Can I get 2 or 3 volunteers to come up on stage here? I'm not going to make everyone do it. If I can get one, I'd be happy. Yeah, come on up here. Okay, kneel down there. We got 2 more guys. Awesome. Oh, I got 4 guys. Good. Get down on all fours in quadruped position. Just try not to kick each other. Lift up your right hand and right knee off the ground. Touch elbow to knee. Back out. Notice all of them have got their back turned. They're pivoted to the side, having trouble. This is actually not that bad compared to what we usually see. But it's actually really difficult. We've had kids that can't pick their hands up off the ground. And this is a simple test. Now go to your opposite side. Look at this guy cheating. He's holding on to the edge. He's not right. There you go. It's a simple test. But how stable are your athletes' shoulders and hips, and can they transfer energy from their core to each other? That's good. Can I have a round of applause for these guys? Thank you very much. So do not design your lifting system to mimic another sport. You want to design a football conditioning program if that's what athletes you guys are working with. You should design a system for athletes, with the end result being faster, stronger, safer athletes that can play your sport better, not become better power lifters. Football players bend, extend, push, pull, twist, and oftentimes do all that primarily on one leg while you guys are playing. So you should really train that in the off season. So here's your first list, 10 things that you need to include in your off-season training program to reduce injuries and increase sports performance. Number 1, dynamic functional strength. You still have to be strong. Oftentimes with these type of talks, I've been accused of saying that the athletes don't have to lift hard. It's not true. You still have to be strong, you still have to lift heavy. Develop their power, speed, and agility. Those are obvious. I'm sure all of you guys have that in your system already. Range of motion, and we're not just talking about flexibility. You can have flexible hamstrings or what appear flexible hamstrings, but you can't squat properly. So if you can't squat properly, it doesn't matter how flexible your hamstrings are. Your hips do not move correctly. Stability of certain joints. Here's the list of joints that need to be stable. In other words, move in one direction or don't move at all. Your knee, lumbar spine. Oftentimes that is overlooked. We train the lumbar spine wrong for the last 30 years. From here to here, you should not bend, you should not twist, you should not do anything. There is only 2 degrees to 2.5 degrees of motion or rotation in your lumbar spine. Each spine only has that amount, or vertebrae only has that amount of rotation that it should have. When we train our lumbar spine wrong, we increase that range of motion, which is unnatural, and we cause problems. Mobility of certain joints, your ankle, your hip, your thoracic spine, that's from your rib cage up to your neck, should be very mobile. That way you can have your shoulder blades move correctly, if nothing else. Absorbs forces through your thoracic region. And then your shoulder joint. All these joints should be very mobile. Oftentimes we will see our high school male athletes, upper cross syndrome. They sit and play Xbox, they're like this, and they sit on the computer like this, and they sit in class like this, so their upper back gets weak, chest muscles get short and tight, and then we ask them to go bench some more, which causes a ton of problems. Proper movement skills. Build coordination in the off season with your athletes. You will find that if you go back to rudimentary or fundamental movement skills, just playing and hopping and skipping, that you will uncover athletes that you didn't realize that you had. These kids are not taught the same way that you and I were taught in school, how to play and how our bodies should be moving. So they don't have the movement skills, the fundamental movement skills that they need to be successful. So go back and include some games and some skipping and all of that into their training, and you will find that some people become athletic beyond belief because they just didn't know their body enough. Proper metabolic conditioning. I find this to be a huge error in high school sports, especially when it comes to football. 90% of your sport is played in 8 seconds or less. If you have your athletes moving longer than 2 minutes, you're building up the wrong enzymes in their muscles. And your muscle is a finite unit of volume, and it already has a little bit of aerobic enzymes in it so we can breathe. That's the reason why we breathe. But it also has a certain amount of ATP, creatine phosphate enzymes, and a certain amount of glycolysis or glycogen enzymes. That energy source lasts for about 10 seconds to 2 minutes. However, I still run into coaches that are having their athletes run miles, which makes no sense because you go back and you're saying, I want you to be in condition for football, but I'm going to treat you like a basketball player or a track athlete. Which, if you guys know, have you guys ever had tired athletes that you try to coach them and they can't pay any attention because they're just breathing really hard? You can't focus when you're out of breath. You can't focus when you're out of shape. Now you can be in good fitness shape by making them run miles, but they're not going to be in good football shape. And those athletes that are playing one sport year round, keep them in shape all year round, the same shape. Don't let them get out of shape. It's not going to do any good. And when you're not training the fat burning enzymes, your athlete's body fat will drop through the floor anyway. You will have much leaner athletes by doing interval style training or that sprint rest. They'll just shred off all their excess body fat, which probably wouldn't hurt some of our athletes. And number 10, proper core function. Now when we start talking about the core, again, most people think fitness, stability balls, all that stuff, and we're all for that to a degree, but it is not the primary training tool.